Tensions rise in the South China Sea after China's Coast Guard blasted a Filipino supply ship with water cannons. Record-breaking heat could cause big problems for farmers in Taiwan. Taiwan's renters are likely to find themselves paying more as higher interest rates and electricity prices drive up the cost of living. Plus,
we meet the performance group bringing their shows to care homes across Taiwan.
Hello and welcome. This is TaiwanPlus News. I'm Leslie Liao with 30 minutes of the latest. Thanks for joining. The Philippines has summoned the Chinese envoy after a clash in the South China Sea injured 3 Filipinos. Chinese Coast Guard vessels used water cannons to stop Philippine boats from resupplying another ship. China says it's protecting its territorial sovereignty. Beijing's claim to the South China Sea were rejected by an international court. The Philippines regularly sends ships to resupply its other vessels in the sea, but incidents in the region have escalated in recent weeks. For more on the situation in the South China Sea, our reporter Jaime Ocon spoke to Ray Powell, a security analyst at Stanford University.
Ray, I want to first start off with kind of setting the stage of what happened in this resupply mission. What did we see from the Chinese side in the sense of trying to stop the Philippine side from resupplying one of its ships?
So in some ways, this is an extension of previous missions. So we've seen China be very, very aggressive in blocking and swarming these Philippine Coast Guard ships and the supply ships. Ship is too strong a word. It's a wooden boat that they are blocking and swarming. And then, of course, they pull out these water cannons. And in this case, I think that the difference is not in kind, but in degree. So the use of the water cannon was very direct. So it was almost at point blank range. And if you look at the footage, it would be extremely uncomfortable for those who are aboard the boat. And there were injuries, I understand.
We're seeing tons of footage come out from the Philippines Armed Forces of China's Coast Guard using water cannons to stop the Philippine vessels. How significant is that, and how lethal are these water cannons?
So China is using them as a non-lethal weapon, but of course, as you I think have observed, at such close range, these things could easily become much more serious. In the example last month, or actually early this month, it was the same boat, in fact, and it was unable to continue after its windshield and other parts of the boat were damaged. So if it gets beyond water cannons, then we really get into some dangerous area. In fact, Admiral Aquilino, the commander of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, was testifying before Congress this week that he was concerned that we could get into a space where we find it necessary to invoke Article 5 of the Mutual Defense Treaty, and that would really put us into some uncharted territory in relation to what China has been doing.
In just a few weeks in April, the United States, the Philippines, and Japan are going to meet for a summit to talk about a variety of things like security and other things as well. But looking at what's happening in the South China Sea over the past couple of weeks, how big of a priority is this in sort of managing security in this vital sea channel?
Well, I mean, just given the amount of attention this has received, I have to think that this will be near the top of the agenda. And to some degree, I think that we can actually attribute the fact of this summit and the likely inclusion of this problem in the discussions, attribute this directly to the Philippines' assertive transparency campaign. I mean, if we had not seen all of these pictures and video, would there have been a trilateral summit? I think it's very possible there wouldn't. So I think this is one example of where the Philippines is getting some of what it sought in going public, which is the support of two very, very important partners, and one ally, and bringing Japan together as part of a security triad, I think, would be a real step forward.
That was Stanford University security analyst Ray Powell speaking to our reporter Jaime Ocon. Temperatures in Taiwan have scorched through seasonal records, with one weather station recording almost 40 degrees Celsius. Sally Jensen went down to Jiayi to find out what this means for local residents.
It's sweltering in Jiayi County in Taiwan's southwest, and local farmers are just as concerned about the damage from extreme heat on their personal health as on their crops.
非常的热，有时候我们会利用就是黄昏的时候才来，就是没有太阳快下山的时候，要不然真的很热。对呀，这紫外线很强呢。
A weather station in Taiwan's agricultural heartland on Sunday recorded record-breaking temperatures for March, rising to 39.1 degrees Celsius, virtually unheard of for spring. While temperatures here are expected to fall in the coming days, the long-term ramifications for agriculture, arguably the backbone of Taiwan's economy and food security, are huge. Water shortages and drought already caused millions of US dollars in agricultural losses last year.
We have this kind of experience in the past many years. Yeah, yeah. So also the rice could be the production of rice year could be reduced in the warmer climate.
Extreme heat this early in the year could exacerbate these problems, but for authorities, the well-being of farmers working outside is a more urgent problem. These people risk heat stroke or even death in such high temperatures.
如果说中暑的话，是大家比较常见在外面会发生的情形，体温变高，然后你可能排汗不是那么容易，甚至严重的话可能就会失去意识。我们出门在外的时候会忘记说，中午天气变热了，我还想把工作做完，所以这边真的要提醒，注意气候状况，然后注意自身的身体状况。
The reasons behind this particular spring heat wave are unclear, but with the climate crisis and El Niño effect making the weather ever warmer and more unpredictable, Taiwan's agriculture and its workers could be in for a difficult year. John Su and Sally Jensen in Jiayi County for TaiwanPlus.
Former President Ma Ying-jeou is leading a group of Taiwanese students to China next week at Beijing's invitation. The 10-day trip will include visits to Beijing, Guangdong, and the Mausoleum of the Yellow Emperor, where the group will participate in a tomb-sweeping ceremony. It comes just weeks before the inauguration of Taiwan President-elect Lai Ching-te, who has been branded a troublemaker and separatist by Beijing. The Ma Ying-jeou Foundation says youth exchanges like this one are critical for fostering communication and understanding between the two sides. Vice President-elect Bikim Xiao is back in Taiwan after a visit to the U.S. and Europe. John Van Trieste takes a look at why her trip is being viewed as so significant.
There are still almost 2 months before Bikim Xiao takes office as Taiwan's vice president. But this former diplomat is already busy laying the groundwork for Taiwan's foreign policy for the coming years. Taiwan's foreign ministry has acknowledged that Xiao was in Europe last week. She visited the European Parliament in France, as well as the Czech Republic, Poland, and Lithuania. The foreign ministry says the visit helped reassure Europe that the incoming administration will uphold the status quo with China, which continues to claim Taiwan.
这次访问有助增进欧方对我国致力维护台海和平稳定的了解。此行是我国副总统当选人首度在就职前应邀访问欧洲。
Analysts say such a visit might not be possible again once Xiao takes office, as China strongly protests any official exchanges between other countries and Taiwanese officials.
许多国家这个行政部门的高层负责人，那么我相信他都可以有这机会接触到，因为他毕竟是一个普通老百姓。目前来讲的话，未来赖总统的一些想法，那么透过第一手的这种说明呢，让这些国家来了解。
As Taiwan's former representative to the United States, Bikim Xiao already has close relationships in Washington. Now, with her trip to Europe, she's building ties in other countries Taiwan hopes to form closer friendships with. James Lin and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's recent interest rate hike and planned increase in electricity prices could also lead to a significant bump in the country's rent. The increasing cost of living is weighing on the minds and wallets of Taiwanese consumers. Last week, Taiwan's central bank unexpectedly announced it was raising interest rates. Shortly after, the economy ministry said it planned to increase electricity prices by 11% in April. All of this means inflation is likely to remain high, and people are growing concerned about the cost of living.
本来一天大概200块就可以解决，但是便当啊，然后食衣住行啊，好像也是多了 将近快100哦。
每个月其实生活都已经打平了。
While higher interest and electricity fees translate to direct costs for consumers, there's another less obvious place they could hit: rental prices. Higher interest means higher mortgage payments. More expensive electricity could mean greater maintenance costs. Landlords may be tempted to pass those costs onto their tenants. Analysts say rents could rise anywhere from 10 to 15% in the second half of the year.
通膨的预期呢已经形成了，所以在这种情况之下呢，房东呢就是连迟钝的房东都会开始呢在调涨他的租金的时候呢，这时候呢对于这种租屋族来讲，他的压力就会变得非常非常的大。
Inflation across the globe remains high, a consequence of the post-COVID economy and Russia's war on Ukraine. But Taiwan has remained relatively shielded compared to many countries. With an increase in electricity costs and potential rises in rent, that may well be coming to an end. Many care homes for elderly or disabled residents in Taiwan are in more remote areas, far from big population centers, making it difficult for the residents to attend concerts or theater shows. Our reporter Reese Ayers follows one variety performance troupe on a mission to bring the stage to their audiences.
Bringing magic to the masses. Meet Daxian the illusionist. He's been in love with magic since childhood, and his viral videos and lively performances are quickly making him a household name in Taiwan.
Wow. Nothing here. Go, go, go. You see, nothing here.
He's also made a splash on the international stage after appearing on the American reality show Fool Us with world-famous magicians Penn and Teller. Daxian hasn't forgotten his roots, though. In his shows, he combines old-school magic tricks with Taiwanese elements to bring a new flavor to the magic community.
Because I post my video online and people tell me to do, hey, do this trick with durian, hey, do this trick with bubble tea, bubble milk tea. I try to do that and people love it, so I keep doing it. So now you see some Taiwanese culture things in my performance.
A renowned artist in his own right, Daxian is also a member of the Hehuan performance group. Hehuan are a group of touring variety performers who have been entertaining people around Taiwan for over 20 years, with the aim of bringing free performances to people who might not otherwise have the chance to catch them, such as the folks living here at this care home for disabled people in New Taipei City. Including magic, singing, and traditional theatre arts, the variety group was started by performing arts major He Huai-an in 2003, inspired by his daughter's tough but successful battle with cancer.
何欢是我二女儿的名字，她在3岁的时候得了眼癌，就眼球一直要摘除，然后又做了2年多的化疗，所以在化疗期间，我觉得小朋友很辛苦，所以隔了1年之后呢，我就用女儿的名字成立了何欢剧团，然后回到儿童癌症病房去做表演给他们看，希望能逗他们开心。
Hehuan has delivered over 800 free shows since then. Their audience's reactions, payment enough.
This is what I want to do, because my magic, although maybe it's not mature enough, but I think I can already make them laugh or smile.
Hehuan specifically tries to reach care homes in more rural areas, like this one located in the mountains of northern Taiwan.
那他们的性质大多是行动不方便的，那所以我们会希望有一些活动啊，是来到我们中心，因为受限于他们的肢体状况跟他们的车程的座位，他们没有办法说带这么多人出去，他们只能轮流。
The group's impact is clear from the audience's reactions.
今天是荷湾剧团来到我们爱维，真的我们里面的人都很开心。
里面有大致的魔术，还有唱歌，还有转金角表演。
然后你觉得怎样？很精彩吗？
很精彩 ，very good.
Despite having busy work schedules, Daxian and his fellow variety performers fully embrace the extra opportunities to practice their art and bring priceless smiles to faces across Taiwan. Patrick Chen and Reese Ayers in New Taipei City for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, one Indigenous Taiwanese group's fight to keep their musical traditions alive. Stay tuned.
this month's top hits on TaiwanPlus. Recognize these characters? Join us as we delve into their design, exploring the intersection of visual culture and identity.
It's made to be enjoyed. It gives you an impression, and it's that impression.
In this new season of Craft Soul, immerse yourself in the stunning creations and inspirational journeys of Taiwan's young creators.
Hi there, I'm Dr. Aziz Mullah. You're listening to the Ripple Effect podcast.
Ready to make a difference? Dive into overlooked environmental topics and ignite positive change around you. Craving for more? Explore Taiwan's culinary treasures with Straight to the Source, a flavorful journey through ingredient stories. Vibrant and original programs, exclusively on TaiwanPlus.
For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, download the TaiwanPlus app.
At a time when the world feels more divided, a platform for diverse voices to come together. I'm Divi Gopalan. Join the dots. Be part of the conversation. Connected where opinions matter.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Russia is reeling from a massacre that claimed the lives of at least 137 people in the country's capital. 4 men have been charged with acts of terrorism, accused of gunning down scores of people in the country's deadliest attack in decades. Rosie Greninger reports.
Russia's tricolored flags lowered to half-mast, and the country's events brought to a standstill to mark a national day of mourning for the victims of the attack on Crocus City Hall, a concert venue near Moscow. The death toll of the massacre has climbed to 137, while more than 180 people were injured. It's the deadliest attack inside Russia for 2 decades. Tributes are flowing for the victims. Newly re-elected Russian President Vladimir Putin lighting a candle, and a makeshift memorial outside the concert hall has become a huge mound of flowers.
Зашло, и сегодня не стало 2 моих знакомых. Соответственно, сейчас я здесь, чтобы просто почтить их память.
While mourning takes place across the country, family and friends of those still yet to be identified wait desperately for news. In the rubble of the concert hall, the health department has begun using DNA technology to search for remains, a process that will take at least 2 weeks. Hundreds of people were attending a musical performance at Crocus City Hall when a group of attackers opened fire inside the popular venue before setting the building alight. Russian authorities have detained 11 suspects, taken for interrogation at Russia's Criminal Investigation Agency. This after Afghanistan-based Islamic State group claimed responsibility for the attack. 4 of those suspects have been charged with committing acts of terrorism. They face possible life imprisonment. But despite ISIS' admission, Russian officials have been prompting ideas that in some way Ukraine is behind the brutal attack. While shifting blame in a television address, Russia's leader vowed to bring those responsible to justice.
Все 4 непосредственных исполнителей теракта, все те, кто стрелял, убивал людей, найдены и задержаны. Они пытались скрыться и двигались в сторону Украины, где по предварительным данным для них с украинской стороны было подготовлено окно для перехода государственной границы.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has dismissed these suggestions.
Ще все це сталося, і ця нікчема, абсолютно, Путін замість того, щоб займати своїми громадянами Росії, звертатись до них, добу мовчав, думав, як це притягнути до України. Все абсолютно передбачено.
For the 3rd time in 4 days, Russia sent a barrage of missiles targeting Ukrainian capital Kyiv, raising concerns the Kremlin's shift in blame for the concert attack would be used to justify escalating Russia's war against its neighbour. And as the country reels from the fresh violence within its own borders, its people are grieving and left in search of answers. Eason Chen and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Professors at South Korea's medical schools have begun resigning en masse to show solidarity with ongoing protests by trainee doctors in the country. The strike in protest of government plans to increase medical school admissions has now lasted more than a month. The president of the Medical Professors Association of Korea said increasing admissions will ruin medical education and cause the country's healthcare system to collapse. He said some medical professors will scale back outpatient services to focus on treating emergency and severely ill patients. China is phasing out the use of chips made by U.S. tech giants Intel and AMD in government computers. Beijing has approved 18 processors from local companies such as Huawei and Phytium to replace the U.S.-made equipment. Both Huawei and Phytium have been blacklisted by Washington. China is also working to end the use of Microsoft's Windows operating system. It's the latest step in the escalating chip war between Washington and Beijing. The U.S. enacted sweeping restrictions on chip exports to China while also imposing sanctions on Chinese tech companies. Farmers in Uganda are turning toward the world's fastest growing plant as a potential cash crop. Jeremy Olivier looks at why bamboo is quickly shooting up in this African nation.
The bamboo plant is often associated with Asia, but these lush green stalks are actually in Uganda in East Central Africa, where bamboo has come to be seen as a potential cash cow. The versatile crop is now being used for everything from fuel to making furniture.
We are making these tables, as you have seen, the chairs. We are making pens from the tip of the bamboo that we don't normally use. We've made definitely cups. We have made trophies. We have made sculptures. We've made quite a number of things.
Interest in bamboo has risen in recent years as an alternative to some of Uganda's other native plant species. Unlike the widely grown eucalyptus plant, bamboo can actually be harvested year-round, regenerates quickly, and can thrive in poor soil conditions. Uganda has even rolled out a 10-year plan to restore around 375,000 hectares of forest land with bamboo by 2030, with the goal of improving the natural environment and lifting its people out of poverty. Policies like this one have driven some farmers to move completely over to bamboo as their main crop.
Bw'otandika ku myaka esatu egyo n'omuzzukulu basigala balya ku bambu oyo. So yensonga kyekyatuggyako okulima kalitunsi ne tudda mu kulima bambu.
Their efforts are getting the support of Uganda's government and local banks, which are offering loans to start up bamboo plantations. Private nurseries have also begun selling seedlings, though demand has not met expectations. Still, those using the bamboo to make and sell products say they are having trouble keeping up with orders. They hope the trend of farming the plant in Uganda can catch on more quickly.
We need people to grow bamboo so that we can now create number one market that you are talking about. We can create demand, but we can also create enough raw material so that we can actually now deliver something that is invoiceable.
Uganda is one of the United Nations' least developed countries and has been searching for a way to develop its domestic industry and boost exports. Now, more and more Ugandans are banking on the world's fastest growing plant to help lift up their country in a more sustainable way. Klein Wang and Jeremy Olivier for TaiwanPlus.
The Taiwanese indigenous group has teamed up with a local university to save one of the group's most closely held traditions. Jaime Okan has this story.
People across age groups, raising their voices in song. These are members of Taiwan's Yami or Tao indigenous group who live on Taiwan's outlying Orchid Island. They're performing what's known in their language as a karak. It's a combination of singing, hand movements, and clapping used to tell stories and celebrate events within their group. But this tradition is in danger of being lost.
它消失了它消失的主要原因就是现在没有人会传唱，没有人会唱。
The Tao are one of the few indigenous groups in Taiwan that don't use traditional musical instruments. The rules of this kind of performance are complex, with only certain members of the group allowed to take the lead. The songs tell stories of how their ancestors lived, helping preserve their unique culture and history.
拍手是唯一可以男女一起唱。 知道歌词里面是我们过去发生过什么事，这样历史层面就有更多的了解。
For the past 2 years, the National Taiwan Normal University and members of the Tao people have worked together to create a program to preserve the performance and showcase their efforts for local audiences. One of the professors overseeing the program says it took time to find the right formula for success.
我们尝试了好几种的方法，我们呢去把它复振起来了以后，现在呢这些会唱的族人就是我们的种子。
As these seedlings continue to sing, the hope is that their performances will bear fruit and help keep this important part of the Dao culture alive for years to come. Leon Lian and Jaime Ocon for TaiwanPlus.
Get a load of this. People out for a morning jog in Tainan were startled to encounter an emu roaming the streets. The large flightless Australian bird turned out to be a local resident's pet. They said they had raised the emu for 2 years but hadn't realized how big the birds can grow. Adult emus are 1.75 meters tall on average. The owner also said the emu had escaped from their property before. Authorities have now taken the emu into care, making sure it doesn't ruffle any more feathers. Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Finally today, take a trip to the world's biggest tulip garden in the Netherlands, now celebrating its 75th anniversary. I'm Leslie Liao. Take care and see you next time.